Well, thanks everyone for joining us. And can I just say, feel free to turn your video on unless you're eating lunch and you don't want us to, sit here and watch you eat your tuna salad. That's fine too. But feel free to turn your videos on. We would like to have a conversation today, and we'd like for all of you to participate in that conversation. So thanks for joining us. And I want to just turn it over to Kaylee real quick.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being on. We're really excited today because Wyoming's First Lady, Jennie Gordon, is with us. She is going to talk to us a little bit about the Wyoming Hunger Initiative and their Grow a Little Extra program, which we've referred to and talked a lot over the last couple of weeks. But this is such an important program to help get local fresh produce to people who need it in our state. So Jennie Gordon, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you, Kaylee and Chris and Mindy and everyone on this call. It's such an honor to be here. I too am itching to get my fingers in the dirt, and I've got some startings already and have them out in the sun today. So a little bit about the Hunger Initiative. When my husband came into office, I knew I wanted to really focus on food insecurity because of my parents' background, coming from very humble beginnings myself, knowing that just a little bit extra really helps our neighbors in need. And so being able to do that in Wyoming has been really important. Grow a Little Extra actually came out of conversations from two University of Wyoming extension folks, Caitlin Youngquist up in Worland and Lori Dickinson from Sensible Nutrition in Sheridan. And they said, you've got your game meat program, you have your protein, your domestic beef, lamb, and pork program. Have you thought about vegetables? And I said, I think that it's really important. That's one of the second hardest things to find in a food pantry. So I said, if you have some ideas, I'd love to hear them. Well, they had great ideas, and they said, we're going to work on just having people throw an extra row of seeds in their garden, or if someone wants to start a community garden. We think if you can find some funds to do some small, grants that people could maybe put in some raised beds or some sort of infrastructure, irrigation, we'd love to be able to offer that to these community gardens and organizations. And so with that, we had them figure out what kind of seeds would be best for the growing season. As we all know, we have a very short growing season here in Cheyenne, and probably anyone in Laramie is really struggling with the high altitude. So they picked some really good seeds. I thought there were 6 different seed types, and they were seeds that not only fit the growing season, but also were easy to store and didn't go, perish quickly, so that we could get them donated. And then partnering with Sensible Nutrition and the Master Gardeners, we were able to give a really comprehensive program. So the produce, once it's been grown, people can get the seeds at their extension agents. Once it's grown, they can take it back to those agencies, and there are a few other ones. And some people are taking it directly to pantries, but what we were really hoping to do is get some weights on that so that we can know how much impact we're having on the state. So Mindy was great to help us stand this program up, and Chris as well. Just, you guys have done such a great job. In the first year, it was pretty brand new. We didn't know what was going to happen, and we ended up donating 10,000 pounds of fresh produce all throughout the state. And so we knew that this program was really impactful, I think, during this time right now where people are really realizing where their food comes and wanting to start a garden. This is a perfect program. So I know many of you here are getting ready to start your Master Gardener program as well. So I encourage you, if there's any way that you can see fit, to not only produce a little extra in your garden, but also encourage others, if they have extra, that they can donate it to the program. I think that there are still seed packets available at the extension offices. So if you want to get it, some of them, I've never grown broccoli before, so I've got that started. And I just some other, the beans have been great, and they were a bulk seed. So they actually have done really much better than the seeds that I purchased from the store. So I think it was a really good seed type that they found. So I just encourage you guys to do that. I'll tell you one quick story that we did last year that has been kind of, I think, our success story. And that's when I got a call from Department of Corrections, the Honor Farm. And I thought, boy, I bet I did something really bad this time. Just kidding. But they had produced a garden or started a garden to cut costs, to try to help, their budget was getting really tight. And not only had they done really well, but they'd done so well, they could no longer freeze it. They could no longer, feed it to the inmates. And so they reached out to my office and said, could we get that distributed? And so through the partners, the extension partners in Riverton and in the Basin area, we got 3,000 pounds from them, and they distributed it all over that area to the reservation, as well as the Basin area. So I was just at the Honor Farm here a couple weeks ago, and they're planting again. And so they're really excited about, helping. And what I love about that is these are people who are incarcerated, but their next step is really to be in communities. And so for them already to be giving back to that community, that they're already on a different path than they were before. So I know the boys' school is starting a garden, and we're really excited to see where all of those go. So I really am so excited for you for this program. I wish I had time to take it, but hopefully in the future I'll be able to do it. But I love to garden, I love to grow, and I know all of you who are taking this, your hearts are in it. So I do want to say a huge shout out, thank you to Mindy and Sensible Nutrition, as well as all the extension agents, and Chris for all of your input. What you're doing is making a difference in our state, and I am grateful that we have folks like you who are willing to give back. So have a great Master Gardener course today.
Thank you so much for your thoughts and for your words.
All right, well, I may sign off. I have my little grandson today, so who knows what he's doing.
Oh, well, enjoy that awesome time too, growing humans and plants.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, have a great day, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that's great. It's not every day that we get to hear from the First Lady and partner with somebody like that. And so that's really what we want to talk more about today is kind of how can we build this partnership and what opportunities are there and kind of what are the needs from our sensible nutrition educators, and then where are our Master Gardener volunteer interests, and hopefully we can try to facilitate and make some of those connections happen today. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Kaylee, what else are you thinking?
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be, especially because we've just been going through some COVID lockdown and all of that, it's really hard to connect. It's been hard to connect. So I think for all of us at CNP, we're really excited to connect with Master Gardener volunteers around the state. A lot of us have great projects going, and we'd really like to work together on some of the things we have going, and also if there are interests from volunteers to stand up new projects if we need to. So
yeah. So first, maybe we could find out where everyone is from. I see a lot of names I recognize on the screen, but I don't know that everyone knows everybody here. If you guys would mind, just take a minute and type in the chat box and let us know where you're from. That might help us make that connection. And also, we've talked about, I suppose we can't assume that all of you were able to watch all of the courses over the last 4 or 5 weeks. We covered things like starting seeds, building soil and composting, promoting pollinators, growing in raised beds. But we also heard from our CNP educators. We talked about donating food safely, engaging youth, and those potential partnerships between Master Gardener volunteers and sensible nutrition programs happening around the state. So I don't want to assume that you've all heard that information, but I don't want to spend time duplicating a lot of information either. But I think it would be useful to hear about some of the gardening projects that the sensible nutrition folks are leading across the state, and then that might trigger some interest from some of our volunteers to get involved. Kaylee, maybe you can direct that discussion or facilitate that piece of it, and ask the CNP educators to talk a little bit about what they've got going on and maybe some of the ways that volunteers could connect.
Yeah, so I guess CNP educators, for those of you who are connected with, so Wyoming Hunger Initiative did grants again this year. If any of you are connected with organizations who receive those grants, will you unmute and kind of share who those organizations are and potentially if there's needs there that our Master Gardener volunteers might be able to connect with?
I'll speak, Kaylee, if that's okay.
Yeah.
This is Mary in Platte County. I see John and Nancy Robinson on. Chris just did a wonderful raised bed workshop with them last week. And now they are gung-ho to get some great plants in the ground and get some produce out to our clients.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I will say John and Nancy deserve all the credit there. They had beds built before I even showed up. So thank you for all your work and effort. And I was glad to come up and participate. Those are some of the nicest looking raised beds I've ever seen. Fantastic job building, designing, and putting it all together. And John also mentioned if anyone is interested, he has the designs for these beds. I was gonna pull up, if any of you know Leroy Johns, I've known Leroy for a long time. I didn't know he had a phobia of having his picture taken, but I basically had to like push him in front of the camera here. But just share quickly, picture a couple of the raised beds and group of volunteers some of the volunteers who showed up to help build and move and fill these raised beds with soil last week. So anyway, great looking raised beds, and the church there in Wheatland is certainly, as I was told, one of their missions is that nobody in Platte County should go hungry. And so these raised beds at the church are going to help them meet that mission.
Awesome. Those are beautiful.
And you got to see a picture of Leroy, which is a rare thing.
Those are beautiful.
Yeah, outstanding job, John, on the design and build on those.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Mary, for speaking up. John, do you want to say anything?
Just thank you for all your help and getting this put together.
Well, my pleasure. And did we mention that you guys, that you received one of the grants from the Wyoming Hunger Initiative?
Yes, we did. That was used to build the beds, buy the materials, which unfortunately have gotten extremely expensive anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course the volunteer time and effort to make it all come together. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So let's see, Angela, Wendy, Beth, I see you guys are all on. Allison, do you guys have projects that you have in mind where maybe some Master Gardener volunteers could be helpful, or that it would be great to connect with them? And you guys can unmute or type in the chat, whatever is easiest for you guys.
In Hot Springs County, the Master Gardeners have really kind of adopted the whole thing. in Hot Springs County, and they work with some businesses, or really mainly one business in particular that actually is like a drop site for gardeners to bring in their produce that to be donated. And we started it that way last summer because of some kind of technicality issues with the extension office in Hot Springs County being a bit short-handed, and it worked really well. So we just are keeping it that way this year, as far as I can tell. And it was pretty well received last year. We have, I'm trying to think of somebody here in Washakie County that was able to take advantage of that grant. I don't know that they need extra volunteer help, though. They've got it kind of pretty under control. So I don't know about that, but it's going well.
Angela, last summer, I think you were working on some new gardens, maybe in Thermopolis. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. It's in the Master Gardener community garden plots.
Okay,
Mhm.
awesome. So if new master gardeners in your area are interested this year, what kind of things would they be helping out with?
In Hot Springs County, they could definitely help just with any part of the gardening over there. Here, I would say if there were some that were needing some volunteer time, I would connect them with Caitlin.
Okay.
So, here in Worland. So.
Well, and Angela, Mrs. Gordon just, I thought she said they were starting a garden at the boys' school.
Yes.
I don't know, would they need help getting that going?
Possibly, I'm not sure. There are some kind of technicalities because it has to be approved through security before you can't just show up there. So, if there was some things like that, maybe we would arrange for a work party and have it scheduled ahead of time to where security would let them in. I know that we were planning on delivering some pots and some soil out there this weekend, but we didn't get it approved in time. So that got pushed a couple days out, which is no big deal, but yeah. So you can't just show up there. But,
So people could connect with you though to
yes.
Find a time to go out. And then in Hot Springs County, do you have a couple community plots there, or has someone else taken those over? And I guess what business do you want people to bring the produce to?
We have some plots at the community garden that are dedicated specifically for Grow a Little Extra, but then also any other gardener that has a plot there knows if they have excess. Then there's, of course, the gardeners within the community that know about it. And the business that is kind of that hub is the Lazy Fox Bakery.
Okay.
It's just like one block off of Main Street. So it's the very easy access. And I think they're pretty much open 6 days a week at least. So people can drop their stuff off on their way to work, or if they have other needs, if they need someone to pick it up, they could certainly contact, probably me, or then I could get them in contact with some other volunteers in Thermopolis too.
Okay. We have several comments coming in from our educators around the state. So in Platte County, there's a daycare center that has a hoop house, and the kids absolutely love it, but they would really like some assistance with planting and some advice. I know they've had some flooding issues with their hoop house in the past. So that might be an opportunity if you're interested in working with little kids in the gardening. That might be a really fun project. And then the First Christian Church also has a large plot that they would like some help in, and the church provides the water, some assistance with planting, it sounds like. In Green River, it's Rock Butte Housing, and Wendy, this is the garden project you started a couple years with them, right? Years ago with them. And they could also use some assistance in planting, watering, and harvesting in their community gardens. That garden is just for those apartments. The people who live there generally income qualify, so that produce would then go back to the people who live in those apartments. And they have a beautiful garden. They have this great fence around it to keep the deer out, but it's very beautiful. They have the beautiful raised beds there. And then Beth, who's in Uinta County, she has some gardening projects, and she will definitely reach out to master gardeners, or we can connect you guys. If you're in Uinta County and want to connect with Beth, you can put your contact stuff here, and Chris and I will also help facilitate connections between volunteers and our educators around the state.
Yeah, Beth, and I might reach out to you after today's meeting too, because I do have some folks from Uinta County who have expressed interest in volunteering and are looking for some opportunities. So I don't know if they're on today's meeting or not, but I will try to connect them with you for sure. That garden sounds awesome, by the way. And so Wendy, before we move on, I also wanted to ask Wendy if that was something that have you connected with Amanda and been able to get some master gardener participation, or can I help facilitate or
Well,
encourage that?
We've talked about it, but we haven't really gotten anyone involved. I have partners that are helping with it, but I think we could probably use another voice coming in. They had a change in management, and now they've kind of changed the way that they're doing things. And I think it would help to have someone that is very knowledgeable about gardening. I mean, my partners are good. They know all about gardening and stuff, but I think we need somebody else to come in and kind of guide them a little bit on things, because they've changed things around a lot.
Okay. Okay, well, it sounds like a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we can connect some Sweetwater County master gardeners to get involved there.
Taylor, do you want to talk a little bit about any opportunities you have going on in Gillette? I saw several people were from Campbell County.
Yeah. So Mandy Reynolds and we do our backyard gardens. And then we have asked the master gardeners to grow extra in the community gardens. But that's pretty much all we have as of right now. We do a lot of, all of donations can be donated to us, and then we'll take it to the pantries.
Haley, I'd like to add to that too. Also, the junior master gardeners have a plot in our hoop house at the North Community Garden, and they are also growing for donations only. So that's pretty awesome too.
Mandy.
And then I think I saw somebody say they were from Powell. Our educator up in that part of the state has been working with the Powell Research Center to do some growing in one of the hoop houses there. So any master gardeners in that area who maybe want to try growing in a hoop house, I think Debbie would welcome the partnership and the help with managing that garden space. It's a really large space, and she's got great produce out of it, but it's a lot to manage for just a couple people. So if there's interest there, that is an opportunity.
So, and I believe Pam Bridgman, if I remember right, is a master gardener and also works at the Powell Research Station. Am I remembering that right, Pam? Oh, here.
Great. Okay.
Oh,
Pam
she
says
says
she's
I'm taking over the hoop house for Debbie. So, okay, I am
awesome.
thinking of the right person.
Awesome. That's exciting, Pam. We're thrilled to hear that. So Jess, I know you just jumped on. Are there any gardening opportunities in Laramie area that might be helpful to have some partnership with?
I know there are several schools here in town that have garden beds. I know Feeding Laramie Valley is oftentimes working with a lot of those gardens. Like I know at one of the pre-Ks here in town, they're actually doing a project with Feeding Laramie Valley on their garden. But I haven't honestly been super successful getting into gardens. And it's not a big strong suit of mine either, but if I could get any help, that'd be great.
Is there a garden out at the extension office here in town?
There is not, no.
Okay, I couldn't remember if there was or not, so. Okay,
I was wondering if Kelsey or Jill had anything to share, because I know Kelsey has the apartment gardening, I believe.
We do. Last year, the Salvation Army received the grant, and they've been iffy about actually being able to have their garden with the new director that they have out at the Salvation Army. And so volunteers there would be great.
Jill, you guys worked a lot with daycare centers, I think last summer too. Is there any need for assistance with those projects?
Oh, yeah, we did. I know that last year we had kind of a rough growing season. And so I'm sure that any of our centers would love some assistance.
Awesome. Okay.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yes.
Okay. So I know this year I'm working with, so there's a low income housing area that we started doing gardening stuff. I guess it was, I mean, really before COVID. So it was, I don't know, a couple of years ago, but they, it's Capitol Court, which is right by the LCCC campus out there. And they've got 12 garden beds. And they just have the residents out there doing the gardens, but they're very interested in just kind of getting any helping hand between, you know, the different points of how to make their garden a little bit more successful throughout the year and really get the most out of the beds that they have. And then the CDC, so the Children's Discovery Center out at LCCC, they are actually working with one of the master gardeners there, but we're going to do 2 different plots. So if any other master gardeners interested in helping with younger kids, we do have that one available too. And I have one more with Holy Trinity, which we're putting garden beds in here soon. But they're just kind of older residents, but it's really for more community stuff to kind of pitch in here and there for garden help. So there's that one as well.
Awesome.
And Kelsey, where were you at again?
Oh, sorry, Laramie County.
You're in Cheyenne?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
I see we have a couple people on from Sheridan, Buffalo area. Our educator from there is not on right now, but there's a really huge garden out at the Sheridan Extension office that they always welcome volunteers to come help with. And I think there's a food pantry site in Buffalo, if I'm remembering right, that gets the fresh produce and may be interested in some gardening opportunities as well. And we can connect you with Jackie, I'm thinking specifically of you. We could connect you with Lori, who can kind of make that partnership come together.
So, oh, Jackie, you're muted. We can't hear you. There we go.
That's not such a bad thing, actually, if you can't hear me. But no, I wanted to say, I've had the opportunity since I completed Master Gardener a year ago, and I'm working through my volunteer hours with Amanda Hewlett from the Conservation Extension Office here in Johnson County. And we are literally in the grassroots of trying to raise up a community garden. We have a plot and so we're at the stage of clearing, fence building, and then in our heads thinking, what do we want this to look like? Who do we want our our community members? You mentioned like junior gardeners, which I think is great, but we're also looking at senior gardeners, education components. I'm also working with Lina, who's been just very helpful in sharing all of her knowledge about community garden development. So we are, and we got a grant.
Sweet, awesome.
Just,
Awesome.
so things are all on the threshold. So.
Well, Jackie, I'm glad that you and Amanda have connected and started that project. And I remember visiting with you, I think after you finished the Master Gardener class, and connecting you with Amanda, because Buffalo is one of those areas where we haven't had a strong Master Gardener program in the past. And so, it's good to see that partnership has built something and that you guys are working together so well. So if there's something I can do to help support you and this community garden project, feel free to reach out and pick my brain. And I'm good at thinking out loud sometimes. Maybe we can do it on Zoom, and you can mute me if I'm talking too much too.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I'm sure we will when we realize we really need you.
Great, thank you, Jackie.
Okay.
Sounds great.
And we have a note from Chelsea in Sheridan County, and she's also looking for any Master Gardener volunteers to help with some of the garden work happening in Sheridan. So anyone in that area, I think either Chelsea or Lori would be great people to get in contact with. So I guess CMP's talked a lot about the different things we have going, but from Master Gardener perspectives, what kind of opportunities are you guys looking for volunteering, and how can we help connect you with those opportunities?
So let me just first say, maybe just to start the conversation, that again this year, the Master Gardener program is encouraging your participation in growing a little extra and donating produce from your garden. And we are accepting a combination of volunteer hours and pounds of produce donated to count towards your Master Gardener certification, or you to maintain your active Master Gardener status, whether you're a new or a veteran Master Gardener. We would love for you to participate in this program. And so that's one of the ways you can do that, is to, just by doing that at home. But of course, we would love it if you would help us extend the reach of extension by helping with projects like this and that we've been talking about in your community. So we would love to hear from you about things that you're doing, things that you would like to do, and maybe the work that you're doing may inspire others to do something similar or the same in their communities. So we would love to hear from you. And if nobody wants to talk, I'm just going to start calling on people. Oh, Cherry has raised her hand.
Good afternoon. I have plenty of volunteer opportunities. I've been doing Master Gardener workshops in Sheridan. And for anyone in that area, we do have a gentleman who is elderly and has offered us the use of, we've got 8 raised beds. So if anyone is looking for places to help grow some produce and donate to the various organizations that can use that produce, please contact Harold Golden or myself, and we'll be glad to put you in contact with that.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to get a hold of Harold or Cherry, just let me know, and I can point you in the right direction too. But thank you. And then Leanne Miller raised her hand.
Hi, thank you. First of all, sorry, I was on another call with the USDA and it took a minute to get switched over.
No worries. Thanks for joining.
So I appreciate your inviting me. I'm part of the Casper Community Greenhouse Project, and we do several projects around mostly at elementary schools, but we do have a community garden with 24 beds located in that. We last year donated about 160 pounds, I think, of food to the Grow a Little Extra, and it was kind of some of it goes to the community members in that little neighborhood, but others of it, of course, when it was before a snowstorm, we were able to get some good harvest. We also have just working on a big community garden on some land that we're partnering with Banner Health on. And our plan there is also a section of our beds will be dedicated to Grow a Little Extra for the program itself. But we're always, we have space available if anybody wants to grow some for themselves. We also would love any help in with master gardeners if they need hours or of any. We have several gardens all around. So besides our greenhouses at elementary schools, which have outdoor gardens, so there's plenty of opportunity for volunteerism if they want. But we have been working with Sensible Nutrition and donating extra stuff. So I just wanted to put it out there. And we're in Casper.
Awesome. Thank you, Leanne. Amanda raised her hand.
So
Hey, Amanda.
Hi, I'm in Sweetwater County. Last year I was asked to kind of tend, there was a college garden here, and the teacher who ran that, she actually was laid off, so she left. But she asked me if I'd kind of overlook it. So I had planted, there's 4 raised beds, and I just did it by myself because of COVID and everything, but I planted them, and I think I donated 10 to 20 pounds. It wasn't a whole lot, but a few green beans and cucumbers and things like that. But this year I'm gonna open it up to the master gardeners, and I'm sure I'll have some of them come help me. But we are gonna plant that very shortly. And I did actually donate that to the college food bank, but I don't know that there were very many students here in the summer. So I think I will actually take it to our regular food bank this time. I think that maybe some staff ended up, which is okay. Some staff at the college ended up with it instead of needy people. But yeah, so that's what I was planning on doing that.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else want to raise their hand? No? Well, I can call on people, but I feel like we've also kind of heard a lot of great examples of projects that are happening around the state. I think there's a lot of opportunities, it sounds like. School gardens, church gardens, community gardens, extension gardens at the extension office, demonstration gardens, Casper College gardens, Sheridan's got gardens, Goshen County's got gardens, Platte County. There's a lot going on. And so as you can guess, organizing something like this, because there's so many individual efforts, can be challenging. But that's why we're sort of trying to create a structure here so that we, as the First Lady mentioned, so that we can sort of track the impact of the program. And so one of the things I just like to remind all of our Master Gardener volunteers is that you can report your food donations online using the volunteer reporting system where you report your volunteer hours. You can donate your produce through the extension office. The CNP educators will take that produce, weigh it, and distribute it to local food banks in your community. You can also distribute that food, that produce directly to the food bank. we are trying to work out a system so that we don't duplicate those efforts, so that if you do donate your produce directly through the extension office, CNP is going to weigh that produce, and then we're going to ask you to report that in the reporting system as well. You'll notice, hopefully in the near future, hopefully this week, our tech person is working on this. There's going to be a little checkbox where you can check whether you donated that produce at the extension office or directly to a food bank. And that'll help us so that we don't duplicate those numbers for people who are donating directly through the extension office, so that we can count those pounds of produce more accurately. But we would love to encourage you and all of your gardening friends to participate in the Grow a Little Extra program, because it really does make a big difference. And you know, these last 2 years have been crazy between COVID and pandemics, and gosh, Amanda has mentioned somebody getting laid off. We all probably know people who have struggled with work and employment and all sorts of in all sorts of ways over the last couple of years. And these are people who, you know, these are people in our communities. These are our friends and our neighbors and our family members. And so I think it's a great thing to be a part of this program. I'm definitely proud to be a part of it and support this program and encourage the Master Gardener volunteers to participate. In the last 2 years, Master Gardeners have donated over 3,000 pounds of produce. And so we've set the bar. We'll see where we end up this year, but hopefully we'll have a great turnout and make an even larger impact in Wyoming. So those are my last words that I have to say, Kaylee.
Yeah, thanks everyone for being on, and CNP is always available for connecting to partners and opportunities in your community. So don't hesitate to reach out. We're excited to work with you guys, and hoping for a really, really great growing summer. I guess we'll see what happens, but fingers crossed, no snow in August and no fires all summer long.
That would be wonderful. Thank you all for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in the garden later this year. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you for joining us.